Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to get more information on different types of integrative medication and medicine and alternative practices. My name is Pari and I'm here today with Rebecca Truman, who is a licensed acupuncture specialist, and we are going to talk about today with her about what is acupuncture, what it can be used for, and how we can use acupuncture to treat different types of ailments, along with how long acupuncture has been present and what are the different basic principles and how we can incorporate acupuncture in our lives. And then one thing I also want to mention is, I don't think you hear much about, is what are some contraindications to acupuncture. So hello Rebecca, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. So please give me give our viewers some information of your background and how long you've been practicing this form of alternative medicine.
Okay. Like you said, my name is Rebecca Truman. I've been a licensed practitioner for about 4 years now, and I've been practicing in this location going on 2. I first started in the healthcare industry when I was about 16 years old, when I got my certificate in nursing assisting, in which I worked in a nursing home for a few years. And then I got my associates of science in billing and coding, and I decided I didn't really like being on that side too much, so I wanted to learn more about alternative forms of healthcare, and that's how I got introduced into acupuncture, and I never looked back. I absolutely love it.
Oh, great. We are grateful that you are here in our town here to provide this practice to the different clients in town. So I just want to know how long acupuncture has been practiced, how long it's been present, and where it originally was discovered or started.
That is actually a great question. Acupuncture here in the United States is still relatively new, but acupuncture has been studied in areas such as North Korea, China, Japan, for even India for thousands of years. The oldest we have found now is it goes back about 5,000 years, but there's a possibility it may be much older than that. And it's an absolutely fascinating form of healthcare. It's very similar in some respects to like with chiropractors on how we like to build off of each session, but it's different in the way that we look at how the body responds to different things on its own and how we can help the body to heal do the natural thing it can do, which is healing itself, using the needles to stimulate different points.
Oh, great. How is acupuncture, like how do you determine who will benefit from acupuncture and who will not, like the different treatments that are consisted in the acupuncture practice in general?
The wonderful part is with acupuncture, just about everyone can benefit from acupuncture, even those who are just looking at it for preventative care, because of how we look at things. We don't treat people as an individual, as a group. We look at you as an individual, and we look to see like where a possible imbalance might be, so hopefully we can correct it. Generally, we mostly see people who come in with like pain is the number one thing that most people come to see us for, but then we also get a lot of fertility clients, and right now with stress and anxiety being the main thing in the US here, we've been working on that as well.
Okay, oh that's great. And then how do you approach the different illnesses that you come across? So like stress and anxiety and pain and all of that. So is there so everybody gets this, it's individually, you said, right?
Yes.
So what are the different ways that in the acupuncture consists of? Is it just every time for everybody you use a certain way, or for stress you use a certain way, or is there some differentiation?
Yes, it's absolutely true. When somebody comes in we'll start with an easy one, with pain. We look at where is the pain problem coming from, but we also look to see like what caused the pain. Some people it could be just due to an injury, which is more common because of our workplaces, but then other times it could just be a progressive thing that comes on over time, like with a lot of your osteoporosis, arthritis, things like that. And how we would approach that is based on what caused it. So from our perspective, we look at it from like, Is this more of an excess issue? Is it a deficiency issue? We also look at another theory that we call the 5 elemental theory, in which we look to see if any of the organ related meridians are involved.
Okay.
And based on that is decide, okay, what best points are best used for this particular person. So if it's for back pain, we look at more of your back points. If it's more for a deficiency issue, obviously we don't want to take things away. We want to strengthen you more, so we want to nourish you more. But if it's more to an injury, that means there's something stuck within the meridians, and we need to release it to allow you to feel better.
Okay. So what is your typical appointment like? So like what is, when you're doing the session, what, like, I know you mentioned about needles, so
Yes.
what are you using specifically? What does your typical appointment consist of?
Our typical appointments consist of, first you'll come in and we'll do a very in-depth consultation with you in regards to what you're seeing me for. So I remember you asked me before, like, if somebody comes in with multiple issues, we look at all of them. We don't see anything as an individual phenomenon. So if you come in and say you have back pain and you also have allergies, I want to know about both of them, because we don't see them as separate. We see them connected, and we look for what that underlying root imbalance might be. And then from there, we can then decide what points are best suited for different points. And we'll also look at your tongue, because we do tongue diagnosis. We also check your pulses on both sides, because all of that information gives us more idea of where the imbalance might be and how we can best approach it and to correct it, so you'll feel better.
Oh wow, that's great. So that's something I wanted to make sure now everybody knows that. I feel like they think of acupuncture like needles and, you know, oh, here we go, and they poke you with some needles and don't really understand like why they're doing that and why, what is the reasoning behind using these different ways. It's just like she said, there are different energies and different depending on the person's ailments, they concentrate on how to treat the person individually. So
we use needles majority of the time. It's mostly needles, but we do use other modalities such as our cupping tools here that a lot of people have seen, especially with the Olympics a few years ago. We also use moxibustion if we feel that there's too much cold in the area. We also use microcurrent or e-stem. There's a lot of different things that we can try.
I understand. This I treat every individual is different, so there's so much like in any kind of a practice. You know, there's different ways to approach a problem, right? How can people incorporate acupuncture in their life?
The nice part is with acupuncture, at the beginning, it's like I said with a chiropractor, we want to see you fairly often, but usually we don't see you more than maybe once or twice a week, depending on the situation, the severity. But eventually we'll get you to the point where you'll come in maybe once a month for a little tune-up, and that's it. And it's nice because it's just a quick little 1-hour session to be away from all the outside worlds and the stresses of the outside world, to just focus on yourself again.
I see. And then, so like one thing I want to make sure is a lot of patients or a lot of clients are on different medications. They're being treated allopathically, like the Western way as well. So I wanted to know, is there any interaction or any complications when somebody's on multiple medicines? So like, for example, somebody being on blood thinners and then being introduced to needles, for example, or somebody having different what do you call it, contagious issues, or being on various medication, various multi-comorbidities going on. Any issues with that, with using acupuncture?
Pretty much. The nice part is with acupuncture, it really does not work against any of them. It works very well with a lot of your different allopathic and medications and things like that. When it comes to blood thinners, obviously we have to keep that in mind, that some points might bleed a little bit longer than others. But for the most part, no, there's really not a whole lot of complications with it. There are sometimes somebody might get an allergic reaction to some of the needles because there's certain metals that they can't handle. In which case we can then tailor our sessions where we might use a less sensitive needle for them to try, or we'll do acupressure instead of the acupuncture.
I see. And then my thing is, okay, so like you mentioned, even your fertility and different ages group, but any contraindications in the sense of somebody being pregnant, or the very young, the very old, or any specific contraindication that they would recommend acupuncture for?
When it comes to the very young, I would definitely suggest you go to see an acupuncturist that's specialized in pediatrics, and that is because the way we approach a child is slightly different for an adult, and not just in the way of, it's very scary to them, but the way that the meridian flows through them and the way their body is maturing very quickly in that time frame is different from an adult. So you really want to talk to somebody that specializes in pediatrics. Geriatrics, thankfully, there's really the only thing you want to make sure of with them is if it's a cancer, or any age anyway. If it's a cancer patient, again, make sure you talk to somebody that fully understands cancer and specialize with cancer therapies and treatments, because it's great to help with the side effects, but we also don't want to cause any additional harm, because we are stimulating and we don't want to overstimulate them or cause them, too much stress and anxiety. When it comes to fertility, on the other hand, or even for pregnancy, you can still do acupuncture, but I would suggest to try to see your acupuncturist, to start seeing them before you attempt to get pregnant. That way we understand you better, you understand how the acupuncture works, so that way we can then tailor the session to your body, to what best fits. There's certain points obviously we can't use during certain times, whether it's through her cycle or where she is in her pregnancy. But the nice part is we can still see her the whole time. It's just make sure you see someone that is also specialized with pregnancies, especially because there's a lot going on and we don't want to, again, cause any harm.
I understand. So that was something I was concerned about, because there are certain alternative practices that are safe in certain aspects of life and not safe. So thank you for covering that, because certain medications, they even have to be careful, or certain illnesses, patients have to be careful about getting any other forms. So please always consult your allopathic practitioner as well, in addition to acupuncture practitioner, and that way you can together benefit. And that way your regular doctor or practitioner also knows about what you are getting. So always make sure that you are always incorporating your allopathic or Western medicine practitioner in addition to allopathic practitioner as well. So that way you can benefit the most out of one treatment and the other as well. My last thing is, where can people go to find out more about acupuncture?
There's a lot of places that you can go online. You can Google search for acupuncture, but my best suggestion would be to check out the NCCAOM. That is the National Association of Complementary Medicine. They're the ones that certify and license us. That way you can fully understand what acupuncture is and know where to find the best practitioner for what you specifically need for care. Okay.
Well, thank you very much for sharing all that information with us today. If you guys have more questions, I will put information about her and her practice in the section below. And if you have any specific questions, or you would want me to ask later on, reach her again and ask her any certain questions, please let us know in the comment below. Please don't forget to subscribe, and thank you for watching this video.